Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Hey, Zam,
Hey, Jordan.
welcome back.
Welcome
So
back yourself.
here's a question today that many people have been asking in the comments, and I think it's something that people have been asking for years, actually. So I think we should do a one-time catch-all um, philosopher's stone edition of your take on
Uh,
this. But the general question is about
okay.
longevity. And
Uh-huh.
I know you have a personal interest in many themes, longevity. And the question comes in two different ways. On the one side, the question is, well, what's Zan's longevity practice? I'm curious to know. And then the other kind of question is, well, how does Zan still look so youthful for his age? What are his secrets? So, where do you start? What's your longevity protocol?
Whenever girls ask me in the bar, why do you stay so young? I say, I eat young girls.
Yeah,
Just like
one
you.
of the commenters said you're a vampire, so that must be it. The blood of a young woman.
There you go. Well, I'm a night owl for sure. You know, I've been asked over the years this quite a bit, and I thought about one time doing a video like this, what you're essentially doing right now, to do a video is, kind of talk about the protocol that I've been accustomed to. But then I had this thought, you do something, you say, hey, look at me, like I didn't get old, and all of a sudden you get you know, a health crisis or something, and something fall apart. So I thought it was too look at me type of feel, but um, for certain, I do different things different than a lot of people, and I've done it accidentally. The science
Mm.
is catching up to what I do.
Hmm.
I'm 61. I'm 61 years old. I've got gray hair. You can see I don't dye
Hmm.
my hair. I still have muscle mass. Like I still, for some reason, I mean, I do.
You got your biceps. Yeah.
I got my biceps, um, and I feel exactly the same, identical to the way I was when I was, say 25, 30.
Wow.
Um, yeah, like I don't have any creaks or aches or bones, that kind of stuff. I'm not slower. W- One thing that was slowing down for me, like about 5, 6 years ago, I went to the optometrist and got new glasses, and I started to notice that my eyes were getting worse. Like, you know how you pick up your phone and you're like, you see some people like this. I can see perfectly like this. When I pick up my phone, I'd have to go like this
Mm.
because I couldn't read it. Like, what the heck? So I get into the bifocals age or something. That sucks because I can see perfectly out here, but I can't see close. I have to lift my glasses up, right?
Yeah.
And and that was about 4 or 5 years like that. And I think, well, that my eyes got worse. And then I went to the optometrist and I said, listen, I might need, like, I have a hard time seeing close with my glasses, but I see perfectly far. And he looked at my prescription that the guy gave me before, 4 years earlier. And he said, well, oh no, we just have to adjust it. He made me so I could see perfectly long distance like a sniper, but it was like not good here. So he adjusted it back to the way I had my prescription for 30, 35 years, which he put it back to the old prescription. And I could see perfectly to my phone and perfectly far away, not really super far, but enough. So my eyes haven't got worse. I thought they were worse. Um, but I don't know. I mean, should I just say what I kind of do?
Yeah. Yeah.
I not consistently, but I try and do 3 sets of push-ups twice a week just to keep the muscle mass going. And 3 sets of preacher curls on my knee. That's about it for weightlifting. I
What
have a
what
treadmill.
what's the preacher call?
It's when, well, they used to be your elbow is fixed in place, and so you can only use your bicep.
Okay, so it's a
So I put it on
particular
my
kind of
knee.
bicep curl.
Yeah, so it's not just loose in the air.
Yeah.
So I basically put my elbow on my knee and I crank it like that, so you can get a heavier weight.
Okay.
Um, so I do that for weights. I don't like to walk because it's boring, and I can't. in running and jogging and stuff like that. So I have a treadmill, and every now and then I'll put on a documentary or a YouTube video, and I'll huff it, a really fast walk. So that's the only exercise I do. I drink a pot of coffee a day, and I drink a lot of coffee, and I only eat one meal a day. I'm going to have for many, many years. And now the science is catching up to that. I'll tell you a few things that I've done accidentally. I was never hungry for breakfast. When I had that corporate job, I didn't want to eat breakfast. I wouldn't get hungry till later in the day. So naturally I'm not waking up, ravishing like a lot of people are. That's genetic, I guess, or something, right? So I wasn't really hungry for food. So I never really ate 3 meals a day, generally. And then about 10, 15 years ago, I just went to basically one meal a day. So I eat around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and I eat a kind of a Spanish keto diet. And I cheat a lot because, not necessarily on purpose, but if I'm at somebody's place and they made a cake by hand, it's a gift. I eat it, of course, right? I don't eat a lot of sugar. I don't eat a lot of carbs. So Spanish keto, I eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of leafy greens, olive oil, and lots of sardines, and chicken. And I eat a lot of berries. I don't eat a lot of fruit, but I eat a lot of berries. So I've been doing that for years, just because,
Quick question at this point.
Yeah.
So with the weights, it sounds like it's very minimal, probably just 5 minutes and you're done.
I'm done in like 10 minutes max. And I do a set, and then I wait 3 minutes, then do another set. Yeah.
Do you program it into a kind of schedule, or do you just do it when the body is naturally kind of hungry for a little bit of workout?
Like, Mondays and Thursdays.
Okay.
Mondays and Thursdays, I do push-ups, 3 sets of 25. And I have push-up bars, the little things, so I can go a little bit deeper. So that's how I do Mondays and Thursdays. And then Tuesdays and Fridays, I do the preacher curls, 3 sets. Oh, and I use the same weight, and I do a shoulder press.
Okay.
So so twice a week, Monday and Thursday, Tuesday and Friday. That's it.
And nothing on the lower body?
No, I started lately just because I was reading that, it's all over TikTok or whatever. Somebody was sent me a link and said that you can tell your cognitive ability and your decline, your cognitive decline by your balance and your squats. So I started doing some deep squats. I never did squats in my life. I started doing like, dang,
So you're on TikTok.
It strengthened my core.
Something new got in your head, and you had to have an experiment with it. So with the food thing, you said in general that you stumbled across these things naturally, and then the science has caught up with you. So I imagine that you're, I don't know, kind of intuitively feeling, what does my body need, or what does my mind need? What works better? Yeah. I'm curious about that process, because I think most people approach themes of longevity from having someone that they follow and whose technique that they follow, or doing a lot of research and then calculating something. But there are people more kind of intuitive types.
Yeah, who accidentally.
Yeah. So how do you come into that process? Because maybe someone watching this would benefit from a more intuitive journey with longevity.
Yeah. Okay.
Which might not be to copy your protocol entirely.
Yeah. Well, and I can't be. I'd be foolish not to say that there's a genetic component. I mean, like, obviously something genetic has supported me, obviously, right? So, and it'd be facetious for me to say, just do like me. But with the intuitiveness of the eating, for instance, here's what's remarkable. When you tune yourself to eating one meal a day, and you do a lot of fasting, and I'll talk about that in a second, you lose the sense of hunger. Like, I'm never hungry. I never feel, I could eat something right now. I eat because it's 6 o'clock, 6:30. I could just go without it. I don't have the hunger pangs. And I think there's some science around that, where hunger is this hormone called ghrelin or something called ghrelin. And that's the hunger pang. And that's and once you've attuned yourself, I don't know, to the kind of ketosis type of thing, I don't know it fully, but you lose that gnawing sense of hunger. And I never have that. I'm never starved. And I'll tell you, I'll do some fasting. Like there was a time last year where every Monday I didn't eat anything because there's a football guy, Henry, one of your, soccer guys.
Okay.
That he said I never eat Mondays for all my life. I never eat on Mondays. And I thought that's a cool idea. So I started doing it too. But, and Deanna will make a beautiful meal. And of course I'm going to eat it, and if there's carbs in it, I'm going to eat it because she made it with love, of course, so I just kind of avoid carbs. I don't eat a lot of sugar. I don't eat sugar hardly ever. I don't eat grains. I don't eat pasta. I don't eat a lot of that kind of complex carbs. I eat a lot of vegetables, a lot of berries, stuff, that kind of stuff. So intuitively, you lose the hunger pangs. And I read 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago this concept called dry fasting. Everybody knows what water fast is, 3-day water fast. But the dry fasting is go 3 days without food or water.
Yeah.
Like zip. And you think, well, you can't do that. You see the movies, the guy's 3 days, he's dragging himself and his tongue is swollen. He's like, he's going to die. They say you die without 3 days of water. I've done it multiple times, like once or twice a year. I'm going to do a 3-day dry fast. And it resets your system in some way. Resets your, I don't know what it does, but it's like no food or water. And what's remarkable, the whole time you're peeing as if you're drinking water consistently because now you're metabolizing water out of your fat cells, and your mind gets clear. You get pretty weak by the end of the third day. You're like, oh, I got to get up and go walk over to there, like an old man. Yeah. But I'm telling you, and your mind is sharp. And I'm not advocating people to do this at all. I'm not a health guy. This is not health advice. Don't listen to me. This is what I do. And I do a 3-day dry fast every now and then just to reset the system and get the stem cells re-jumped. And so I've done that for the longest time. Well, not the longest time, but for the last 5, 6 years.
Is there a particular frequency you do that with? Like once a quarter, once a year?
No.
Intuitive? Like if you notice yourself maybe slow down or...
Yeah, like after Christmas and New Year's, and I ate a lot of cakes and Christmassy stuff, I thought, anyway, I'm going to reset myself with the Christmas market here in Bucharest, beautiful,
right,
hot toddies and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, I'll just reset myself a little bit here. So there was nothing. I have health issues. Like one of the other things that, and let me explain that. One of the other things I had that I accidentally did that science caught up to. When I was 19, 20, 21, I noticed that, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got vitiligo on my hands. You can see the line.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
And
okay.
I noticed it on my fingertips when I was showering when I was 19 or 20, that my pigment wasn't there. And I freaked out because I was already insecure. And I was the guy who, in my 18, 19, 20, 21, man, I tanned. I went to tanning beds. I was on the beach. I was dark skinned. And I went to the doctor. The doctor said, well, you got vitiligo. It's benign. It's just cosmetic. Doesn't really do, it means it's an autoimmune disease. Your white blood cells are attacking the melanin. And slowly over the years, it creeped up to here. And in my 20s, I was so embarrassed about it that I would hide my hands. I didn't want people to see it.
Oh, right.
And I stopped tanning. Because of that, in my early 20s, I started to avoid the sun. I would I would sit in the shade at the beach, sort of thing, right? So accidentally, I avoided the sun, which is, science is saying, that's one of the biggest things that gives you wrinkles and that kind of stuff. So by accident, just like accidentally not eating. And the other thing that I do while I'm remembering it is I only get about 5.5, 6 hours of sleep a night. I have for decades. I'm a night owl. When I had the corporate job, I had to be in the office by 6:30 because the markets open 9 o'clock Chicago, the commodities market, 9 o'clock Chicago, which is 7 o'clock a.m. Vancouver time. I had to be at my desk at 6:30 and, ready to go for the day and calling the brokers. And I still did not go to bed before 1, ever. I just lay there. So I'd go to bed at 1 and be in my desk at 6:30. So I've slept 5.5, maybe 6 hours my entire life. I naturally wake up and like, oh, I guess and I'm not tired during the day, but I almost always take a 20-minute power nap. And I condition myself to that. I'll set my alarm on my phone for 23 minutes. That 3 minutes is the time to give me, time to fall asleep. 20 minutes later, sometimes I don't sleep, but I lay there for 20 minutes. And so I've taken a power nap, short sleeps. I don't know if all this accumulates and aligns, but this autoimmune disease made me stay out of the sun. And I found out a few years ago that I have another autoimmune disease, which is my thyroid, which is Hashimoto's. So I have the high antibodies markers for Hashimoto's disease, even though I don't have any symptoms. So the doctor said, you just have to watch this because it could become an issue for you someday. So the diet I do, which is, is really aligned with is to try and ward off these autoimmune diseases that I inherited. They're genetic. So, and I take the other thing I do, and I'm not advising this to do this. I take a lot of vitamin D3, like a lot. Like the normal is like 500 or something. I take 5,000 to 10,000 a day, 5,000. And there's something called this is not medical advice. Don't listen to me. I'm just telling you what I just absorbed. There's something called the Coimbra protocol that this doctor did a lot of research on vitamin D and found that most people, certainly us in the northern climes, are deficient because we don't get it from our food anymore. And we don't get the sun because of our indoor lives. So most people are deficient in vitamin D. And for people with autoimmune, like this is a claim, he cured MS, which is an autoimmune disorder, by massive amounts of vitamin D3, or put it in remission. So I just take a lot of vitamin D. That's what I do. Higher than what's normally recommended, but I've been doing it for a long, long time. So I don't know if any of this helps because I'm not in tune with my body. If I take vitamin D or I miss it for a month, or if I take coffee or I miss it for a month, I can't tell if I'm not really wired into how I feel. I don't really go, I really notice that. I feel the same every day.
Yeah, because some people are very, very associated
Sensitive
with their body, and that's how they navigate this kind of stuff. They have a very sharp intuition. So,
yeah, and I don't.
I mean, you gave a couple of caveats. Don't follow. This is not advice that I'm giving here, but in general, you meet men around a similar age to you, and you see the different conditions they're in for health. Right. Some have got great health.
Yeah.
Some men around 60 are struggling with different things, or most people have been through a certain crisis by that age.
Well, I'll just be straight up. I had one medical crisis in my life. I was hospitalized once, and that was about 10 years ago. I remember when I was living in the hostel. You remember those days with Deanna? I started to occasionally smell smoke. I'm like, I get this whiff of smoke, and I'm like, what? Is this something burning? Is there something on the bedspread? Like, I'd smell smoke, and then it would go away. Yeah. And it happened for about 3, 4, 5, 6 months. And I just thought that was strange. I kept smelling this phantom smoke, and then it turned into a whiskey type of smell. And I'd get this occasionally, and I thought, well, that's really strange. And then I started to lose my sense of smell. Like I lost it. I couldn't smell take some leaves and crush it up. You can smell the leaves. I couldn't smell it, or spice. I couldn't smell it. So Deanna and I were in Vancouver one time. We were flying back to Bucharest that evening. And I saw that I basically saw a sign. This is for ear, nose, throat specialist guy. So I went in, I said, listen, obviously you can't get an appointment in Canada. It's like impossible. They said, oh, we'll fit you in right now. I was shocked, but it's $500, private clinic. I said, yeah, well, I better check it out. So I went in, $500. And the guy asked me questions. Did you ever get headaches? Nope. You ever have a drip in the back of your throat when you wake up in the morning? Nothing. No. Well, that's strange. But you lost your sense of smell, and this, we have to do a CT scan on you. Another $500 downstairs. So I did this. I was like, I'll do it. Did the CT scan, and he came back and he said my sinus here, the ethmoid sinus thing, was 100% impacted, crammed with something. And he told me, this doctor, he's the top specialist in Canada, it turns out. He teaches others. And he said, I suspect you've had this completely blocked for decades. It's been there a long, long time. And it's killing the nerves of your olfactory nerves. And it has to be operated. Or you could get meningitis or something or die. It's going to get worse and worse. And I'm like, okay. So we freaked out. I was flying to Bucharest that night. He said, I can get you operated next week. But I said, Dan, what do we do? So we walked across the street to a walk-in clinic, and I happened to see this old doctor. And I said, listen, he just told me this, and I'm about to get on a plane. Is that bad? Because my head will explode or something. And he said, yeah, you've had it for decades. You can go back to Bucharest. It's not going to change anything. So I went back to Bucharest. We found a top young doctor here, and I got operated on. I was in 24 hours in the hospital, and they cleaned out whatever was there. That was 10 years ago. So I never told anybody that. It was kind of this, kind of a private thing, but yeah. And I've been fine. And he said, it's 50-50 chance your smell never comes back. That's how bad it is. And it came back perfect.
Right. I remember I remember the early phases of this happening, actually, when you were waking up with a smell. It's kind of disconcerting because you think that there's been an explosion or there's a gas leak or something in the hostel and the whole building is going to go.
It's real smell, man. It's weird. So, I mean, like I've had that. I'm careful with my health because I've got these autoimmune proclivities. And so I take vitamin D. I do a Spanish keto diet. I don't eat a lot of junk food, but every now and then I'll have a Burger King or something, So it's not health advice again.
I got some specific questions. Most of them actually have come in from Matthias, our friend Matthias in Germany. So I'll go through these one by one. Have you ever focused on the issue of gut health specifically?
Yes, because I'm kind of a nerd for longevity, so I read a lot of stuff. I'm a futurist, and I just read something yesterday that that vitiligo, which I have, stems from imbalance of flora in the gut. And remarkably, they injected these mice with something. Their vitiligo went away, and it's the latest breakthrough, quote unquote. There's always these breakthroughs, but the scientists were really shocked by it by doing something with their gut. They injected it for 14 days or something like that, and their vitiligo. So for almost, I think a lot of stuff and they're saying that Alzheimer's is really diabetes 3 or whatever, because it comes from your gut. So I really do think that research and keeping the balance of your gut is the most important thing. And I think when it's imbalanced, it's hard to correct it. That's why they do these fecal transplants, right? Because it rams it through, quote unquote, in a manner of speaking. But so gut health, I haven't done a lot of research on it, but I think that stems from a lot of stuff we have stems from that. Mental things too.
What about sleep? You mentioned earlier on about napping, but when it comes to nighttime, how do you sleep? Is there a specific schedule?
I toss and turn. No, I have this Aura ring. See this?
Yeah.
This is an electronic ring. I've had it for 5 years, maybe 6 almost, since the beginning almost. So I've got 5 years of sleep data. on my phone, and my optimal chronotype is 1:22 to go to sleep and wake up at 8:22. That's my chronotype, and that's what the ring says is optimal for me. So I'm never tired before 1:30, 2 o'clock sort of thing. And I wake up in the middle of the night. You know that the old sleeping style where they say that people slept in 2 shifts. They'd wake up for an hour and have sex, or you walk the dog or something, read a book. I do that. I wake up for an hour at 4 a.m. I'm like wide awake, and then I go back to sleep again. And for me, I can sleep till 8:30. Perfect. It's beautiful. So I move around a lot, but I'm never unrested. I never drag myself because through the day I feel like I'm getting enough sleep.
So it doesn't sound like a conventional deep sleep, where you have your solid 7 or 8 hours in one chunk, as I hear is preferred. Like you get up in the middle of the night and you're wide awake.
Yeah.
But then you say you're tossing and turning. It sounds like it's not the kind of
my ring's
textbook.
Always giving me heck.
Right.
It's saying you didn't get much deep sleep last night. You didn't you didn't get much REM sleep last night. But I feel great. I feel fine. So and I take those naps, and the naps, but you read about Michelangelo and Einstein and these people, and all these people that you read about and you admire, Musk and all these guys, anybody who's doing anything, they hardly sleep. They don't sleep a lot, and they function. And it's not because they're overworked. It's because they just get up and keep going. Like Dali and everything, Dali would hold a spoon in his hand and sit in his armchair. And when he nod off and the spoon would clank on the floor, he'd wake up and paint what he was last thinking about, So I don't know.
What's that about? Because there are certainly in my life, if I don't get a solid 7 hours, better 8 hours, I definitely feel the lethargy the next day.
Yeah. And I don't. And it's just a different chronotype,
And a chronotype is kind of like your predetermined setting for how you're going to
like I said, when I was
sleep throughout your life.
Like the modern world is constructed that you have to start the day early and go to bed early. But to be functional is a normal job. Like my corporate job, like I said, I had to be in the desk at 6:30. And so but it's not my natural state. Even back then, I couldn't force myself to like, okay, I'm tired at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I gotta get 8 hours of sleep, so I better go to bed. I just, no matter what, I was not tired. So your chronotype, I don't know. It's like some people are just that way, and I'm just naturally a night owl. And the mornings are for sleeping. Mornings are beautiful till 8:30, 9. That's a beautiful sleep. Wow, I'm gone. I'm dreaming like a little baby. I love mornings. But to get up in the morning and be productive, nah, I can't do that. That's me.
Final question for now. Are there any useful gadgets or biohacking tools that are proven especially useful to you?
Oh. You know what? I'll tell you something else that I've never told anybody before. Like my hair is pretty solid, and I've only used one thing since I was 14. My sister says, "Oh, it's gonna make your hair fall out." I've only used Head and Shoulders Classic since I was 14. No other shampoo, no other conditioner of any kind. Just Head and Shoulders. I've used it my whole life. I just like rub my head with Head and Shoulders. And everybody said, "Oh, it's bad for your hair. It's going to be bad." My sister, for all these years, you got to quit using that shampoo. You got to use some more natural stuff. I'm like, all right, here I'm 61. My hair's still good, But I noticed, if you get sick, or you have if you ever notice a ridge on your thumbnail or your toenail, like a ridge just starts to come on, starts to grow out and goes to the end, like a horizontal ridge.
Yeah,
that means 3 months ago you had a flu or something that made you really sick, because when you get really sick, your nails stop growing and your hair stops growing. It just shuts down.
The body needs to reallocate the energy. Yeah, sorry.
If you have a line here, that means about 3 months ago you had something traumatic that hit your system. And so your hair will fall out in clumps too, and you get freaked out, right? So, so I had, I guess I had one of those bouts, and my hair started coming out in the shower. I'm like, what the heck? Like, my hair's coming out, like volumes of hair in my hand. And it lasts like that and I had it before in the past periodically, and it goes for a few months, and then it stops, and hair stops falling, it corrects. But it wouldn't stop. I'm like, so I started freaking out. So I started doing research like I do. And I bought these things because I saw some YouTube videos of guys that are recovering their hair. And I have it right here. Where is it? Hang on. This is a gadget that I bought from Amazon for like $30, called the Dr. Pen. And basically it's a little microneedling thing. And you take these microneedle points like this. It's got 12 needles, and it just goes, and you put it here like this, and you vibrate, and you poke your head.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it just vibrates, and to the point where it's not bloody, but it's red. People do it on their face too, right? And guys have been doing this and showing their success rate after like 3 months of this, and it's remarkable.
So this is
remarkable.
This is like a hyper-targeted scalp massage for the stimulation of.
Yeah, but it's actual needles, and you get a stamp like a just stamp it yourself, or a roller. They call derma rollers. People do it on their face, but people are recovering their hair. So I bought this thing, and I used it twice because they're supposed to give it a couple of weeks in between. So like I was freaking out because my hair was like, what the heck's falling out? I used it twice, like on my hairline here and on the back and everything, like this, and it hurt. And then a couple weeks later, 3 weeks later, I did it again. And I noticed after 2 months, my hair stopped falling out. And I was sitting on my rocking chair, and Deanna was sitting over, and she goes, "What's going on with your head?" She just randomly said it. And she walked over to me, and I had all this fresh, brand new baby hairs here that she noticed from across the way. So there's something effective in it that works. So not medical advice.
All right. Well, I might ask for a link to that product and try it out for myself.
I should say that the other thing,
much belated advantage. Yeah, help.
The other thing that's not medical advice, not endorsement, whatever, but I discovered this guy that creates these blends that you put in your coffee, and I like this one here, for instance. This is a package of his blend.
Okay, that's not coffee itself.
No, it's about 500 plants all mixed into this called autophagy.
Okay.
And I've got this one. I've got senolytic. Senolytic, which is for I'll tell you this story of this guy. He was a fusion musician. He was a guitar player in a band. And his mother at 50 years old, who he adored, got cancer. And with all the protocols, she died. And he said, why did my mother die? And he started to research into the latest research of scientific research on cancer. And he found out that he has a predilection for scientific studies. And this guy reads like 30 a day, 40 a day, and he understands it to the detail. And he said, you know what? So he basically used scientific, this is not endorsement, guys, but I've been using it for 5-6 years, his blends. The website, just if you go there, is theinterstellarplan.com. And he has blends for hair, for kidney, for liver. He's created all these blends because what he did, like if you go to his website and you go to the hair product, which is this one here, it's called Super Hair Blend. Okay. You go there and you look at the website for this page. He's got 1,000 studies linked, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 1,000. You click on anyone, you click on 548, and it goes to a scientific study, an actual research paper that said that this particular plant in this study restored gray to dark hair, for instance. And all these studies. So he took all those plants, all science. He doesn't make any claims. All science, any of the plants, and he created these really, really high quality blends that you take just a little bit of an eighth of a teaspoon and you mix it in your coffee. He's got for anti-cancer, for you name it. And I have been taking those in my coffee every morning for 5-6 years, for certain, that long. And like I said, I'm not in tune with my body. So maybe if I didn't take it, I'd be like gray, but my hair's not gray and it's not falling well. It was for that one scare I had. But he's got these blends for kidneys, for liver, for anti-cancer. For this one here, Trinity, is for mental health. People take this to calm themselves and stuff like that. And it's all scientific based. So what I admire about him is his dedication to the science. He doesn't make any claims. He doesn't say, oh, he's not a blogger. He doesn't write this blog opinion. He said, this is what these 3 studies said on this particular flower. And so it's in the blends. And so you can look up all the research. You've got tens of thousands. I'm not kidding. When I say tens of thousands, every one of these blends has 1,000 or more different scientific studies. And they've got 200 or 300 ingredients into each one. So all plant-based. And so I've been buying his stuff for a long time. This is not endorsement, but go to the interstellarplan.com. And if there's a referral thing and there, put my name Zan, maybe I'll get maybe I'll get
you get a freebie.
I never got a kickback from him, but maybe I'll get a kickback.
It's a good endorsement.
So I don't know.
Let's bring things together a little bit, because you've actually laid out many different things that you do and that you've explored and that you live by, and perhaps someone will take the time to write them out in the show notes. If someone was coming to you fresh and they just said, Zan, this longevity thing, or I feel a bit depleted, or my energy is not what it was, or not what I need it to be, how would you say that there's like a top 1 or a top 2 that you would recommend that certain people try out? Where would you start? Or if you were advising a younger self of how to start this off, what of this feels most crucial?
The diet, for certain. Like, switch over. We're addicted to the sugar in this kind of stuff because it's our comfort. It became a cycle that we don't feel good if we don't get it. Switch your diet to a Spanish Mediterranean diet. Look it up. There's millions of books out there and protocols for it. I think that's the number one thing. Is that the number one thing? Because people say, enhance your sleep, take supplements. I take a lot of supplements too, by the way. I take vitamin D3. I take some of the stuff that these longevity guys take, like lion's mane and quercetin, and I take them because, luteolin and that kind of stuff. Apigenin, which is chamomile. I take apigenin. And I just take it in pill form. I take psyllium. I just take I have like powder, psyllium powder, and I just take a big spoonful of it and try and swallow it with water before it like becomes all caked in my mouth and like explodes. So the number one thing I would say is change that diet, like eat less, which is easy to say, but change the diet to a Spanish keto as best you can, or, a Mediterranean diet for certain, because optimize your sleep, get a heavy blanket, blue lights, all this kind of, I get it. I don't do any of that, but you could do that. Exercise. I don't get enough exercise. I have a sedentary lifestyle. I sit in my rocket chair. I have a desk, or I have a lap desk, and I put my iPad on there and I do my writing on my lap, on my rocking chair. I'm sitting like this. And I can sit there all day just thinking and reading and writing, and which is not good. So I know I have this sedentary lifestyle. So exercise. So number one thing is diet for certain. And then number two is exercise, which is what everybody's been saying for centuries.
But we have a more profound exploration in order to help you navigate that. Okay, so that was Zan's longevity protocols. Let's
if you go to the website, put my name in there. I just realized maybe Gavin will. Name of Gavin. Go look his stuff up. It's I think it's a real deal. So yeah. What were you gonna say?
Let's move on.
I should say this too. Like I've got vitiligo on my hands, and when I was young, I noticed it on the corners of my mouth, and I have it under my eyes. I don't know if you can see it. So like this is unpigmented, this part of my eye, and on the corners of my eye. So I remember when it was in the 20s, in the 80s, it was the bars all had black lights because to show off your neon green T-shirt and your neon peach T-shirt and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And all these girls are in there like with their glow bracelets and all that kind of stuff, and their big hair and stuff like that.
And your skin would
the
do
black
the same.
lights, and my skin would be like I'd look like a raccoon, and I was so mortified. And the big guys say, "Let's go to this bar. It's a cool bar." I didn't want to go in. So yeah, I was always insecure. Now I don't care. Whatever. I go in the sun. Well, I still stay out of the sun. I stay out of the sun. I don't go in the sun very often. So